Oh, hi, friends. Happy Sunday morning to you. Welcome to another wonderful reunion here on Podquester. You know what I love? A good twist. I feel like twists, they revolutionized the game. Last night, so many twists. More twists than you could shake a stick at. Just tons and tons of twists. There's a lot to unpack here today. So let's unpack it. Let's bring in our first group from last night's lovely game. Welcome, Jack, Chris, Wesley, Owen, Tyler, Adam, JC, Ashley, and our winner, Joe. Joe, congratulations. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Thank you.
How are we doing?
Good.
Tired, but we're here.
How'd we sleep? Did we get any sleep?
Not very much.
Not at all.
Does help.
It does. That is the key. That is the key to a restful night after playing Sequester. Last night was very interesting. I feel like even the panel as we watched, like, it was so much. And I was like, I have no idea how I would handle this because it was just so many things going on at once. And I guess that's where I want to start today. Yeah, just about how did you all wrap your head around it? It seems like it's become apparent that Saturday is a day where you can just, in Big Brother terms, expect the unexpected because it's not even Sequester anymore. It's just like throwing twist on top of twist and seeing who can survive it. And I'm sure all of you had a game plan, seen the game, kind of had an idea of what you wanted to do, and it was thrown out the window. So what were you all thinking when we heard that A, there was a public LOS that somebody in the audience had, B, every round was history can't repeat itself until you got to the final 12. C, every person eliminated got to give safety to someone who would be safe until the final 12. What did we all think when we heard that to start the game?
I thought we needed more twist.
No.
I don't know. For me, my first game, we did 2 back-to-back histories can't repeat, and I thought that was difficult. But then you added 5 people safe. You had to think. It made that level of thinking just way harder and really quick. So I don't know. It was difficult, but challenging and fun.
It was like, I don't know. It really threw you off because it like kind of took away the like idea of like just throwing your vote because you don't want to vote with the majority.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can't just throw your vote because like what if you need that vote 2 rounds from now when that person's gunning for you?
Mm-hmm.
I agree. If you had a target that you wanted to get out, you had to get them out that round. But on top of that, you had the public LOS. So like even if you were to get enough votes and then the person who had the LOS plays it, that your target is safe until 12, I believe, or until that history can't repeat ends. So it kind of like just threw my whole game off balance in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
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 Yeah, the public LOS thing, I don't know if any of you went back and watched any of Podquester, but it was a very interesting position to be in. I did not see the tweet. And then when we got in before the game, before we went live, the tweet was mentioned. And everybody was like, well, did anybody like DM Audrey? Because people had put in the comments like LOS, but nobody had said anything. So Alex Day DM'd. And like a minute later, he was like, oh my God, I have it. And I was like, what? And he's like, I have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you serious right now? Because, I mean, the Podquester, we don't want that much power here, really. We don't want to be in control of the game. That's bad news. Chat does not like that. But it was very interesting to have the person who had the secret LOS right in front of you and kind of seeing what happened. And I really like that in the game. Like it gives, it's the same thing as a Twitter poll, right? We've had plenty of Twitter polls, but it specifically singles out one member of the audience. And I feel like that kind of happened the week before too, with the wheel. It's like, you don't really know what's going to happen anymore. Like you could become part of the game, which I think is awesome. So that obviously factors in later. But let's get into what the game actually was. So in round 1, we started an odd way to start with now or later, having no idea, how late into the game later would be. We ended up with 6 total votes. And the elimination ended up being Ben. Now, Joe, your name was thrown out there immediately by Cassie. Immediately, she knew your history. She knew how you played the game. I mean, another thing we should mention, a lot of people in their videos mentioned that they played before. There was no shame in mentioning that you played before. And everybody was very open. This is who I am. This is what I've done in the game. This is why you should be afraid of me. And Joe, you made it very vocal in the fact that you did very well with the LOSs last time. Was there a thought? Did you ever second guess that?
So when I first made that video, I just wanted to make a video just to have one. I told myself if I were to play again, I would kind of just own up being a target, because I feel like maybe people would recognize me. And if I kept it quiet, they'd be like, you know what? Not only is he a threat, but he's kind of being like shady right now, not, you know, kind of like trying to fly under the radar. So I was hoping that I would be able to own up being a target and that people would appreciate that and use me later on. But it all got thrown off because of the vote now or vote much later. So I heard my name, I threw out Ben's name, and I just couldn't rely on people voting for Ben. They might have saved it. So I actually found an LOS round 1.
Wow.
So I got it, and I said, you know what? Like, I need to just play this because people might not vote for Ben, and then people might vote for me, and I just want to be safe. So I ended up playing an ineffective LOS round 1, but I don't regret it.
No. That one was a hard one to decide now or later because of that fact. Like, I was working with Joe from the start, and I was like, do I do it or not? But I felt confident that A, your LOS skills, and B, that Ben had that morning when I was walking around rooms.
Yeah.
I knew I was voting round 1 no matter what, because I assumed that much later would mean like final 12. There was no guarantee that I would be there at final 12, so I would like to use my vote now. And I was hearing Joe's name being thrown around. I was like, okay, no, Joe's in my starting room. I hear Joe. I say no. So I was voting round 1.
Thank you, jeez.
I thought the other way. I wanted to save my vote because if I wrote down the wrong name, then that's just one less person I have to vote for. So I opted to wait.
That's exactly how I felt. Like, there was, like, my name wasn't out there. Anyone I was aligned with, like, I said to Joe I was voting Ben, but like, I didn't want to throw a vote and then like not have it work and then just lose that opportunity to vote for someone later on.
I went into the round expecting to vote because I was kind of expecting my name to come up after my video, but when I heard that it was between Joe and Ben, I just saved it, and I was never going to vote for Joe that round either.
I voted. Oh, sorry. I voted.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Okay. I voted the first round because this is my first game, so I was just very paranoid about like going in. And then right before I went in, like my Skype wasn't working. So Audrey couldn't send me messages, only I could send her. So she told me either I was tech evac or I couldn't get LOSs. So I was just very paranoid the first round. So I decided to vote in the first round. Yeah.
And I was keen to keep Ben because he was in my starting room and we had an okay connection. And I heard a lot of Joe's name being thrown around. So I thought actually Joe was going to go. And I promised Ben I was going to vote for Joe, but I ended up not because I didn't want to lose that vote ineffectively and not be able to use it later on against Joe. Not that I knew for sure I was going to do that. But then that ended up saving me kind of because Ben thought I was quite loyal to him and he gave me safety, which was great to have so early on, but then it screwed me over at the final 12 round for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss that a little bit with you, Adam, because I mean, it's a new thing in the game, right? It's like, how do you maneuver having safety for so long? That's basically half the game that you don't essentially have to worry. Once you knew that you were safe as of round 2 for basically 10 rounds, did you have a game plan as to, because my immediate thought would be like, all right, nobody's going to ever vote for me in the end because I'm just safe and not doing anything. Did you have a game plan as to what you wanted to do in those rounds to actually, kind of remain in the game and be useful?
Yeah, so my first plan was to look for LOSs, but my problem was my Skype connection was really spotty, so like my messages weren't actually sending. So at the point I realized like, okay, I'm never going to get an LOS. So then I was just trying to move to as many rooms as possible and sort of build connections with people. But in hindsight, what I really should have been doing, I think, is building the connections mainly with the other people who were getting safe. And I think the 5 of us should have maybe formed a better plan at final 12. I just was not thinking the long-term strategy. I was like, I'm just here. Like, I seriously was just wanting to have a fun game. So I wasn't being super strategic about what to do. And I was just trying to enjoy myself for those rounds that I was safe.
So after we got past the Ben elimination with 6 votes, Ben gave safety to Adam. And this was a twist a brand new twist, that it had to be 5 votes on someone for them to be eliminated, which I actually thought, I believe it must have been only ended up being 5 votes that hit correctly on Tyler, which I thought that this would be a tie and there would be a couple of them, but it seemed like only one group got together and did it effectively on Tyler. What was everybody's thought process here and how they were going about it?
I couldn't get an answer out of anyone. So what I did is I was working with Joe, and I knew his name was potentially out there, so I just threw it on him. So if there was a 5, it'd be 6.
I voted for myself also because I heard my name up there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw a vote on myself, and hopefully it doesn't come up to 5. So that's what I ended up doing.
My starting room in the round, we said Gavin, but I forget who it was. Someone like dipped like so fast from the room that like we never actually confirmed it, but like we had 4 on Gavin, I think. So someone went to go. It might have been Wesley.
It was me.
Yeah, you like dipped so fast.
I messed up this round like pretty bad, I think.
JC and I were in a room together with, I think, Adam, Brian, and someone else, and we all, the 5 of us, were going to go Gavin as well.
Oh,
so,
yeah. So I threw out Gavin in that room of 5. Jack, I think you were in there.
Yeah.
And I threw out Gavin just because I hadn't seen him. But then we hit a room limit, and I was like, okay, I'll go. And then I realized that I probably should have stayed. And then in the next room, they're like, have you heard anything? And I just say, oh, I heard Gavin. But that's also not what you're supposed to do in the 5 when it's only 5 votes. But then it might have been Chris or somebody else said that their room also said Gavin.
Yeah.
So then I knew that Gavin was getting too many votes, so I just voted for myself.
I don't think I said who it was. I just said that we have a name. It's not you.
Well, I heard somebody say the room was Gavin.
I didn't say Gavin after leaving room 1. So
okay.
Yeah.
I ended up in a room, I wrote this down, it was me, Gavin, Mason, Larry, and Beck. And I think our plan was that we wanted to choose someone that wasn't really being spoken of, wouldn't get votes, so that we could secure our 5. And we chose Tyler because none of us had a relationship. And then after we did that, we were like, we're going to stay here. We're not going to move. And then I think at the end, you, Tyler, jumped in. It was like a room limit. And then none of us left. We were like, no, we're not leaving. And then the round ended.
Yeah. For me, the round started and I just kept getting, we were starting in a room of 8. So I just kept getting room limited. And then by the end, when we just had a second, I just quickly just threw out Mason's name, just as someone, because I hadn't seen him or anything. So I thought we had a 5 on that. But yeah, I watched back a little bit. I saw literally 30 seconds after I came into your guys' room.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that was an interesting, because we talked about that on commentary about how this may be one of the rounds, which I'm always against it, but one of the rounds that you may vote for yourself just because odds of 4 are slim. So maybe you push it over to 6 if you think that there's going to be 5 on you, which I guess, Joe, is exactly what happened to you, because I think it probably would have been a tie there if you had not voted for yourself. And then it's a whole different ball game if that ends up being a tie. Like this entire game may end up being completely different. So it's a very, despite what I say constantly about not voting for yourself, I think in that case, not only did you vote for yourself and save yourself not getting eliminated, you probably got the win because of it. So there you go. That early of a decision, that early in the game, probably changed the whole direction of where we went. Tyler, obviously it didn't last too long, but what were your thoughts overall in playing?
Overall, it was a lot of fun. I didn't realize how paranoid I would get at first, but other than that, I honestly had a great time, even though I was only there for 2 rounds. And yeah, it's even though I was only there for 2 rounds, it's I already see stuff I could have done better. I could have room top a little bit more, met more people. But yeah, overall, fun time.
Absolutely. Are you planning on playing again?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Thank you for coming on.
Bye.
All right. So that brought us to round 3. So Tyler gave safety to Ryan, and that brought us to the safety roulette round. And this ended up in Beth's elimination. And this was a very, very interesting land because it was Beth, Greg, Jennifer, and Adam who was safe, which, I hate to say it, Adam, but if you were not safe, I feel like you would have been in big trouble there. And it ended up, that you did get safe. I thought Greg was done, just being, who he was up against. However, he had the LOS and used it successfully sending out Bethlehem, who we love. We love Beth.
We love that.
Robbed goddess. What did we think about this round and how we got there?
Can I say something about the starting room for that room roulette? So I hopped into room 1, and JC, you probably noticed. I walked in. It's JC and Cassie there, and this is my first ever mini. I've never played, but I've been watching like pretty regularly for a few months now, and I know JC and Cassie. And I was like, I am done if this room goes up. And I was like, no, and I'm like moving my cursor towards the X, and then the round was over, and so I was. The very last room saved. I did
the same thing. I was with JC and Cassie. Like, no, stay. I was like, absolutely not. And I started.
All I know is when the last round ended, I was in room 5, and as soon as Audrey said go, I got out of there so fast. I just went to any other room. I ended up like 2 with it was like Joe and Larry and some other people.
Yeah, I was like, avoid the room 5 curse. I'm not going there.
I'm very superstitious. I'm always room 4 for the 4 horsemen. So I got to go to room 4.
We love the rest.
Nice. The wheel went in a very interesting order. It saved room 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. It was like,
really? Yeah. I didn't realize that.
I didn't notice that because I was stressing too hard being the last thing.
Roulette's not fun.
No. But I know you mentioned it last night, Chris, is that we thought the room 5 curse was done. It is not. Apparently not. Apparently still very much living.
Well, what's funny for me is I played in the O Canada private mini, and I was in room 5 for safety roulette, and the only other person I was stuck with was Braden Lauer, and I got screwed over because wheel 5 or room 5 got cursed and was up, and I clearly lost against Braden. But this time I felt sitting in room 5 with that big S on my face.
It seemed. How did we vote here? Because it seemed pretty. It honestly seemed pretty. I thought it would just be, pretty a sweep against Greg, but he actually did make some inroads in getting people to vote for Beth, which I didn't think was an option. He still would have went if not for the LOS, but I think it was closer than anybody expected.
I had a last minute change of heart. I was going to vote for Greg, but then he came into my room and I just had a feeling he might have an LOS. So I just threw in Beth because I was like, and he was in the room. So I wanted to make that connection after if he did have an LOS. That was a very, very pointed move.
I went into room 5 late in the round and he was still in there. So if he hasn't moved around, I had a feeling he had an LOS. Then I saw the LOS on the screen right as I entered the room. I'm like, hey, Greg, did you get that LOS that was just up? And he didn't say anything. So I'm like, all right, he probably got that one.
Yeah, I see. Well, Greg was my ride or die ever since I saw the intro video, since we played in a mini together previously. So I was like running around, please, not Greg, not Greg. I'm happy at an LOS, but I'm sad that we lost Beth.
It was a hard round because I didn't want to lose a woman. Like that was, but I was also like, what's best for my game?
I was cornered by the other people in that room at the start of that round, so I pushed Beth. I feel partially responsible for that one. So sorry, Beth.
I know my room at the start, we all said Greg right away. Like, we wanted to keep Beth in the game. And then Beth came into the room. I'm like, Beth, I'm never voting you. Like, ride or die. Like, I want you in this game. And then she was like so thankful. And then I went to another room and pushed Greg. And I think last second, like, I got 1 or 2 people to flip because like they didn't want to throw a vote that like they couldn't use later because if Beth was still in the game. And then the LOS got played and Beth went. And I thought Beth would give me safety, and then that didn't happen.
I was able to find Beth, and we kind of made like a final 2. So I was going to say loyal to Beth, but once I found that I felt like Greg had an LOS, I ended up throwing my vote for Beth just so that I can keep that vote for Greg. And at that point, I was like, Beth is going to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had only heard Greg that round. I didn't want to vote for. I hadn't seen Greg yet, so I didn't really want to vote for anybody else. Beth was promising me ham, so like that was enticing.
Yes, she was willing to divide the ham up like equally amongst everyone who voted to keep her, and that was enough for me, honestly.
I will say, as happy as everyone was to see Greg stay, we missed some quality ham content last night.
I'm sad.
I was so happy. I was so happy to see her in my starting room. Like, I watched like multiple of her minis. Like, she's an icon. I was so ready to play with her.
Mm-hmm. We need another Beth appearance. Beth for all stars.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So after the Beth elimination, Beth gave safety to Joe. And I feel like this was interesting. So Joe, you had safety. You had already had a lot of people voting for you. So you were likely pretty safe regardless. And that's going back to Greg. I feel like that was what put Greg, even though he never received safety, he was so safe because basically everyone had voted for him. Nobody could vote for him again under this new format. So he didn't really have to worry too much because even when his name came up there, it was kind of a done deal that there would not be enough votes to take him out, which is, assuming that this is done again, an interesting way to play, that if you can survive an early round, get as many votes as possible on you, use an LOS, and just be safe for all of those rounds. Like it probably is the best way to play it. It's just very, very risky.
I realized that like after round one, like there was a point in that game, like I was in near tears because round one, I pushed so hard for Joe. And after that round, I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I pushing him the first round? Like he's going to be safe. And the further it went, I'm like, karma is going to get me. Karma definitely got me. I was so like, I knew it would get to a point where like I was like, this is I'm going to lose the game after this round. I was like, fuck it. Like I'm so done. Fuck it.
So after Beth gave safety to Joe, we had Red Green Button, which was a nice story before Red Green Button. I didn't know where it was going.
I couldn't either. I was looking. I was watching.
Yeah, I opened my eyes and Ashley's eyes were just open the whole time. Like I looked like a dweeb with my eyes shut.
I was like, I'm not closing my eyes.
I'd have laughed if all of us had the eyes closed and she put an LOS on the screen while she was doing
that. That would have been just fantastic, honestly.
Funny.
Well, speaking of Chris, very good segue there, because this was also the round that announced about another new twist. As if there weren't enough new twists already, we had another new twist, which was the different color LOS. Is that make sure it's green, because if it's not green, you're gonna get a punishment if you ask for one that's another color, which kind of
there you go. Do not hit color.
Destroys a lot of people's strategy of just as soon as you see anything whatsoever, just hitting a bunch of keys and pressing enter. That out the window now because you actually have to look.
For me, I just stopped looking for LOSs as a whole because A, I was never going to get them. B, and I felt I had connection. So I was like, I don't need to screw myself over with a yellow dot.
Yeah.
So to my defense, falling for the yellow dot, I actually lost internet connection when Audrey made that announcement. So I had no idea that it was supposed to be fake. And I saw that it was a different color, but I just was like, oh, whatever, I'm going to put an LOS in. And then I see like Sequester is typing, and I was getting so excited for the message that I'd won it. And then I was so confused about the punishment. So I learned,
luckily you were safe.
Yes.
So it ended up with red only being able to vote red, green only being able to vote green. And it seemed there were so many more reds than there were green. It seemed like a sure thing that a red was going to go. However, Jack, you ended up going in that situation. So it seemed like there were a lot of names out for red: Gavin, Owen, Brian, mostly. So more than likely, I imagine the vote was split. And then for green, I believe the idea was you were all supposed to vote for yourself. Jack, you voted for yourself, correct?
I never heard that.
I did. Like after it was like that last room, like Ashley, you came in and left, And Jiang was like, we should all just vote for ourselves and like not throw our vote away for the round because like we'll all be safe.
Oh,
And-
left.
That's
All right.
smart.
What happened before that is when the round started, it was me, Joe, and Jiang in there. 3 greens and Greg, obviously. Greg left. The 3 of us were like, okay, let's get one more green. We have the majority, 4 out of 7. That we can get something to happen. Ashley comes in, and all 4 of us said you.
And we had Greg too, I believe.
Yeah, and then Ashley leaves. You and Larry come in, and then it's just nonstop room limit from there. So we were already set on voting for you, and then once, like right at the end, when the let's vote ourselves, I was not going to vote myself at that point because I'm not going to waste a vote on myself that early. So it was you. I think you voting for yourself is what got you out. I
blame myself. I felt like I was too confident when I saw like 11 red dots or 12 red dots, whatever it was. I'm like, oh, they'll put a majority on someone. Like, I don't want to waste a vote. Like, I want to vote for later, so just throw one on myself. And then, like, you know, hopefully it just works out. But
sorry.
My problem was I didn't jump rooms a lot that round because I was trying to talk with Larry and someone else. But we kept getting either room limit or the Reds were talking over us, so we just couldn't make a plan. And I ended up coming to the room where all the greens ended up being anyway.
So I actually threw your name out. So we had 4 votes on Jack. So when you came in and you're like, let's just vote for ourselves, I was like, let's just go for it. So I didn't really get to know you too much. So I was like, I get Jack out. I get to save a vote for someone else as we move on. And I was not going to vote for Ashley, so I threw my vote on you.
Yeah, well, the first thing I said when I came in the room, there were 5 of us, and Ashley just left because of room limit. And I'm like, let's all just throw votes on Ashley. That's 5.
I was like,
no. I don't know any like mini relationships. Like, I don't think that far ahead. Like, it's just especially last night with like 4 twists going on at once. Like, any relationships like that just went out the window. I was just trying to save my own ass at that point.
That was a big part for at least Joe and I's game is we had a 3-person group that knew each other beforehand.
Yeah.
So I mean that was the disadvantage to a lot.
Yeah, I don't think not a single person on the panel saw that coming at all, Jack. Like everybody was so sure it was going to be somebody on the red side, and then we were kind of blindsided. And I feel like we see that kind of thing a lot in Sequester, is that for some reason when it's really lopsided on one side, somebody from the other side goes home, just because when there's so many options, nobody can get it together, and it's a lot more obvious if you only have a handful of options. How was you? I remember watching your... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Who did the other Reds vote for? Because I voted Brian. I don't remember why.
I was the one that pushed Owen. I don't know if I was the first push. I had like every time I was in a room with Owen, we were room limited. I never got to even speak to Owen until like the round we went out on. It was really, it was just rough. I had no one else to go for.
That's fair.
Right. I pushed and voted Gavin. What did you do, Owen? Yeah.
I voted for Gavin, but that was because Gavin pushed Brian to me, and then I went and told Brian that Gavin was pushing him, and then Brian said that Gavin was pushing my name. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll vote Gavin, which apparently was debunked later. I think Brian lied about that, but that's at least, yeah.
And I was red, and I voted for Owen because I was wanting to. I think it was maybe from Cassie who I heard, and I was wanting to work with her, so I was following her lead on that vote.
I know the Greens in my starting, we wanted to tell Red to push a name just so we could get them to split around 2. Like that was another thing too, is to throw a few names for having a green name and a red name to spread.
So Jack, how was your experience? I remember watching you in the Big Brother one, where you had a good run at it and went pretty far. Obviously, this one didn't last as long, but how was playing a Patron Mini for you?
Oh, it was so much different because, like, the Big Brother Mini was, like, pretty straightforward twist-wise. Like, you could pull up one of the Excel documents with all the twists, and it kind of went in order. So, like, I kind of knew how to play it, and then, you know, you got into this game, and it threw everything out the window. And I tried to play a little differently than the last time, and it didn't work out from my end.
Do you think you'll be playing again anytime soon?
Oh, absolutely. I love this game.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Nice seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So moving into round 5, Jack saved Lawrence, and then we got into the tether round. And Chris, we were brokenhearted.
I'm dressed for my own funeral here.
Your name hadn't come out the whole game, and I was like,
Yeah.
"This is so good," because I'm so used to your name coming out immediately. And
So am I.
I was like, maybe this is the night, and then all of a sudden it just came out of nowhere in the tether.
I have yet to get past the 5th round in a game, so hopefully next
It
time.
was
You'll get there.
it was nothing personal, Chris. I feel like
I don't even know where it came from. I was 100 million% blindsided by that.
Larry and I, like my tether partner was Larry. We had a good amount of time alone to talk, and like your name was just the one I landed on the list because I hadn't voted for you yet. This was like the round, like I was ready to like use this round if I was in final 2 and be like I did that because I felt like I had a big play in that one, but it was nothing personal.
It
was just like the way
it is nothing personal at all. So don't.
The way that I kind of play, like especially the early rounds, I'm like, if I don't see your face, I assume you're not with me. Like if I don't see you a lot in the game, I just assume that I can't trust that. So it just unfortunately we were in rooms a lot together to strategize together.
And what kind of is Larry was very suspect on because he was in room 5 at the start with Jack going out. So he's like, "All right, which one of you did it?" And all of us were just like, I just tossed a vote because I wasn't going to vote for myself. I guess he didn't buy it. So I'm frantically running around trying to find my tether, Alex. I get back in at the end with Lawrence, and I'm like, "Okay, look, let's just squash this. This is what I did," and he was fine with it, but too little, too late.
Right.
I do have one piece of tea though that I do want to spill regarding the audience LOS. Alex Day played in 6-6. I played in 6-6. Cheap promo. Please watch the 6-6 or 627 mini tonight. But Alex did play the LOS on me, but Audrey did not see it until the middle of the next round.
Oh my God.
I didn't know if that was public knowledge. I knew that as well, but I didn't know.
Alex told me it was okay to discuss. So it was a complete misunderstanding. What had happened, he had DM'd her through Twitter and not through Skype, and she didn't see it. So
That's heartbreaking.
So
we were all
that's why I'm dressed for my own funeral
kind
today.
of like bleeding, being like, "Uh-oh. I think Chris is in trouble here."
I turn the phone on, and it's like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" And then I see all that. I'm like, "Okay, we need to get on Zoom right now and talk about this," because I'm like, "What the hell is going on?"
Oh my God!
Yeah, so I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm not. I had more fun playing this game than the other 2 games I played. So, I absolutely loved everything. But if you don't mind, I have a mission briefing that I need to go to.
Thank you, Chris.
You're amazing, Chris.
Later tonight, commentary later tonight. We'll see you.
Yeah.
All right. So that brought us to round 6. So Chris gave safety to Alex, and then Chris also got to nominate. He could nominate between 2 and 6 people. He picked 4: Mason, Greg, Beck, and Gavin. And this round ended in Mason's elimination. This also started with Adam and Jen got the fake LOS, so they were both stuck in room 5, and it was a highest even number vote. I realized as these rounds were going on, I'm typing a lot before these rounds start. There's a lot of rules going in, but yes, it was also highest even number votes. So how did we get to the Mason elimination?
For me,
this round sucked. I just want to say that. Like, this round sucked.
I misunderstood this round the entire time. I thought Chris saved people and didn't like vote them as flops until the very end. I think it was Joe that was like, I was pushing John, and Joe's like, he's safe. I'm like, oh.
For me,
this round, I couldn't vote for Beck. And I had working alliances with Greg and Gavin, so that left Mason for me. So that's when I started to push.
Yeah, the thing is, I think like a round or two prior, Mason and I were like, dude, I love you. Like, we got this. We're going far. And then I ended up in a room with Gavin. And then I knew that everybody had voted Greg that one round that he LOS'd himself. I was like, I have to do Mason. Like, I literally have to make sure people put votes on Mason. And it sucked. Like, that.
Right.
Yeah, I think this was definitely like the round where the history can't repeat twist really started to take an effect, and people like could not. It was so hard to try to find people to vote, and we had to like vote people that it was like we didn't really want to, but we don't really have another choice.
Yeah, go Wesley. Yeah.
I couldn't vote Greg that round, and I was acting like I couldn't vote Gavin, even though I could, because I was trying to keep Gavin safe. And I had just seen Beck more than I had seen Mason, so I ended up in a room with Mason at the end of that round. I'm like, I'm not voting for you, but I wasn't going to vote for Beck, so I voted for Mason.
Yeah, my experience was a little different. I had told Mason I wasn't voting for him, so I didn't. But unlike you guys, I had not voted for Greg, and I knew it was unlikely he would go. So this was the round I threw my vote on Greg.
That makes sense. Smart.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was hard for people to maneuver just because, the options just became more and more limited as time went on. And a lot of times people were just going, honestly, by default, because there were not enough options as the rounds went on. But as we got past the Mason elimination, it brought us to round 7, which was the poison word twist, which is becoming very, very common in the game to game, but we're kind of seeing the new meta strategy evolve in terms of how you're supposed to play this. It was names again, which we love, because I get random DMs from people like TR saying, "Why is Twitter going around saying my name is poison?" And I was like, well, but the safe word was Sparks, which Cassie got.
My king, I love Sparks.
So it ended up with the nominations being JC, Greg, Jen, and Zhang. And Zhang ended up being eliminated. So let's talk a little bit about your strategy with your words and then how we got to the elimination.
Well, I guess for myself, I just wanted to put that out there as much as possible. I was like, this is a great way for me to see who actually trusts me. And who either was just stuck with the poison word and didn't have a choice, or didn't trust me at all. So there was a very uncomfortable moment where Adam, Owen, you I think had just entered, and Adam and JC and I were already there, and I had just told them all Sparks, and JC, I was like, oh, do I say something? Do I not? And JC's like, yeah, I hadn't heard anything. I'm gonna go, and he leaves. And so I leave, I come back, and Adam was like, were you just not going to tell? Were you just not going to say it? I was like, no one said it. I didn't know if I said it. It was very awkward. And I was like, I didn't necessarily mind, no offense to Owen, that I didn't tell him it, just simply because I had targeted him earlier.
Right.
But that was so awkward. It was very
that was so funny. I rolled up into the room. I was like, has anyone heard anything? And it was like right after, and everyone was like, and I was like, hello? And then people started leaving, and I was like, oh God. And then Cassie came back and said it was Sparks, and I was like, well, I'll just send in Sparks. I'll see if she's right, then okay, then she's telling the truth. That's a good thing. And then I ended up in a room with literally everyone who ended up being nominated besides JC, and they're all like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And Jen was like, well, I heard it might be Sparks or Joe the Show, but I'm not really sure. And then they revealed the noms, and everyone's nominated except for me. And I'm like, oh, this is awkward now.
I had Jalen as a poison word, so shout out to the best mod. But,
yeah, absolutely. Love her.
I didn't feel like I had the social capital to sell that lie, so I spent that round kind of just telling people that was a poison word. But if you could spread it, that'd be great. But then I walked into room 1, and in the half second before I got put into the room, I heard people saying, "Oh, it's Sparks." Yeah, it's Sparks.
Yeah,
so I
it
got
was.
in, and then once I was in, nobody was saying Sparks. And I was trying to push it out of somebody. I don't remember who it was, but I was like, I heard a name when I was coming in. Like I don't remember what it was, and they're like, "Oh, Joe the Show." And I was like, "Okay, I think it's Sparks." So I walked in, I got in a room with Joe, and I was like, "I've heard that the safe word might be Jalen," and Joe's like, "I've heard Sparks," and so I knew like pretty sure that it was Sparks.
I like this round to make connections with. Honestly, like, you know, I got it from Cassie, but I also, the two poison words, people told me that they're poison words, so that built connection both ways. So I think moving forward, like Cassie and I were really good going forward. You like had 2 stars on my list because you like done 2 things. So
Yeah, I had a poison word. My poison word was Adam. I don't know if it meant Adam in our cast or what. But I straight up told my room, I was like, this is a poison word. Just tell people that you heard this. And then I ended up in a room with Alex, and then Alex left, and I was by myself and didn't get to tell many people my words. So I have no idea how I ended up safe that round, but I'm assuming something went right somewhere. So
I had a poison word as well, but I chose not to tell anybody what it was because I was already safe. So I figured I'll just sit tight for it. But it was very awkward being in the room with Cassie and JC in that situation because as soon as she left, other people came in. I was like, I actually didn't believe her that the word was Spark. So I was like, I heard it, but I don't think this is the right word. So I don't want to tell you guys.
I knew. I was like, oh, Adam's gonna think this is the worst look ever. I was like, I have to go back and like try to like fix this because it was such a bad look.
You smoothed it out in the end.
Yay.
We were wondering about that, whether the safe players would be involved in the twist. Because like you said, Adam, it really doesn't benefit you at all to say a poison word. Like it could only hurt you unless you're, trying to, gain trust in people and telling them it's the poison word. But, telling them that it's the poison word.
My hope was like, luck of the draw. If I could have got the safe word, then I could have spread it to just a couple of people and just been like, obviously this is a safe word because I don't need to get my poison word out. But I was surprised I even got a word at all.
How did we decide upon the vote there with John going out?
For me, I had a long one-on-one with Brian, who I was working with, and he had told me that Zhang was on to people who had played together before, and that was a big no-no for me. So I was like, I'm happy to push that name.
I don't remember. I voted for him, but I don't remember who got me on it because I wasn't on it initially, I don't think, but I don't know.
I did not vote for Zhang. I actually voted for JC because I had heard, rumor had it that JC was going around telling people that like he was good with everyone.
Yeah, he was.
And so then I thought people were voting. Like I was in a room where people were like talking about how he was doing that, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I think people might be voting him because they're catching on to this.
While we're on that topic, let's bring that up. JC, how many names did you write down last night? I feel like that happened a lot.
12.
Excellent.
Every time I went in a room with JC, I felt so safe with him. I was like, I was all in on
tell me
JC.
about it.
Yeah, and so that round, I didn't want to vote for anybody who was up, but I was just going to vote for whoever JC told me to vote for. And at first he said Zhang, and I had only just met Zhang, but we were partners, so I didn't want to do that. And then at the very end, JC told me that he'd heard a lot of Jen, and Jen was in my starting room, and but I hadn't seen her in like 30 minutes, so I did end up voting for Jen, but I didn't want to vote for anybody that was up that round.
It's funny because I came into a room and I think, it was me that said JC is putting everyone on lists, but I didn't have enough chance.
I remember that.
I hadn't really. Jen was. I didn't.
Jen was. Me and Jen were in the same room that JC told us we're writing down your names. Like, I'll write down your names. We're good.
And me and Owen were like, Harry, JC, if that's legit or not.
Well, the round ended so quickly. I didn't know if you guys were actually going to vote JC, so I ended up voting for Zhang because I heard that's where the votes were going, and I didn't want to waste a vote on JC if it wasn't going to stick.
I also was still. Like, I don't know, I had like with the safe word round, I thought JC was like trying to like hide his word from me. So like on top of that, I was like, JC's kind of acting a little sketchy. So I'm just gonna vote him.
I mean, he did hide Spark. He straight up like just
yeah.
I don't know.
And that was like
he's like peace and left. I was like,
that was
oh,
like a
no.
round or two after he was like, oh,
that?
Owen, I get good vibes. Like I'm gonna write down your name.
Can I address that, Cassie? The reason why I doubted the Sparks thing is because usually when someone has a safe word, right, and they want to spread it around, they spread it with a lot of passion. I thought when you said that, oh, okay, the safe word is Sparks, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not sure. Is she trying to con me here? So I went to find out other names and see who said their name with the most passion, and I went with that name instead. So, but I trust you in life.
I have verbal diarrhea. Like if someone tells me a secret, I immediately tell it to everyone because I just can't help myself. Like I'm just like I don't even mean to. I get information and I can't hold it in. So I just told everyone.
I'll note that for the next game we play.
Oh my god. And something about the list, right? When I was watching the Podquester commentary afterwards just to see what people were saying, I read one of the comments saying JC is coming up with lists. And I'm like, wait, when did I make a list? I was like, oh, it's the names I was writing down of people I wanted to work with. I was like,
Did other people not do that though? Like write down their list when they made deals? I did.
I don't take any notes with me. I'm just here.
I wrote them down, but I can never like look back at them.
The new trend to write it down because everybody. I feel like I'm the biggest detractor of this ever when I play because everybody's like, oh, I love this room. I love this room. I'm like, you say that. Everybody says they love the room. Like, come on, let's go. But now the new thing is write it down. You love this room this much. Write down the names if you love it. Write it down.
Don't write down every room with every single person.
I was scared to write things down because I was like too busy looking for an LOS. I feel like if I were just writing things down, I'm like, I'm gonna miss an LOS. So I kind of just like
that's why I gave up on LOS.
Yeah.
Let's
one
put
LOS.
Credit on the name here, Joe. I feel like you're getting up there for like LOS king at this point. Like there's there's people in the running for the top LOS people in the game of Sequester. Obviously Dan Alt above everyone, but I feel like you're starting to go up the ranks in terms of consistency getting LOSs.
I think good internet. Total, I've only got 4. I got 2 my first one, both were successful the first one, and then I got 2 yesterday, both were ineffective. So I have 4.
Only 4?
4 more than I have.
I'm getting 1. So. All right, so that brought us to round 8, which was very tricky because it was a double elimination and it was 2 with the highest votes. And when you factored in that people were safe and you factored in that you couldn't vote for people you voted for before, it made it very hard to avoid. And this ended with Wesley and Owen going out. I felt like it was kind of neck and neck between Wesley, Owen, and Beck this entire time. But how did we get to this elimination and how did you all play it?
The room that I started in, I was with Adam, and we were just trying to throw out like random, or just trying to find a name that we could all vote for. And I threw out Wesley because I just had, even though I was in a starting room, I was just like, I honestly have not seen him like at all.
Same.
And Adam was like, not really want to do that. So then I like switched rooms and I was like with Ashley or whatever, and I was like trying to push Wesley, and then someone came in and said Beck was like, was being pushed a lot, and he had like the most, I don't know, votes going around, and then eventually I went to another room and Beck was there, and he just yells, "Oh, and I heard your name," and then the round is immediately over, and then I was like, okay, well I'm screwed. And so then my thought process was, I think Beck has the most votes, so I'm going to vote for Wesley to at least maybe like do like a tie at the very least. But then Wesley got the most votes, so then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
I was under the impression that Wesley had the most votes like the whole time. I was just going around to everybody
I
saying
thought
Wesley.
Owen had the most votes.
Oh gosh.
I pushed Wesley. I had an LOS. I played it that round. I thought that myself and I thought the girls would maybe be in danger this round since 2 people were leaving. So I was like, I'm just going to burn the LOS, whatever. Like, I just would want to be safe, rather be safe. So I pushed Wesley for a little bit, and then like halfway through the round, I stopped caring.
The second Audrey said it's a double elimination, I could like just hear the bells tolling in the distance because like history can't repeat, and I haven't heard my name come up once. I know there are people out there I'm not super tight with who are going to realize that they can totally vote for me, and like other people, like Gavin and people who have gotten and Greg who have gotten votes previously might otherwise be targets. Joe is safe. Joe might otherwise be a target. So my original room said Owen. I was all in on Owen, and then I ran into Joe, and Joe was saying, Wesley, he wasn't saying, Wesley, your name's out, but he was saying, Wesley, you should push for somebody other than Owen because Owen's already going to get the votes. And I was like, what about Beck? I've never seen Beck. And just the look on Joe's face when I said Beck, like, I knew that like Beck was not landing with that crowd. So I didn't actually hear my name once that round, but I knew that it was going to be Owen and either me or Beck.
Yeah, I think the fact that your name hadn't come up like at all before that is why you ended up leaving that round, because it was like so many people could vote for you. And it was like, I think that's why my first room was like, okay, let's push Wesley. I forget if we came up with another name. It might have been Owen. I honestly don't remember, but I just know that Owen got traction. So I think I ended up voting Owen because I figured Wesley's getting the most votes, so I'm just going to vote Owen. But then Owen came in, and I was like, Owen, people are saying your name, and I was going to try to work something out. But literally, the round ended.
Yeah.
Right then. It was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I voted Beck just hoping that maybe Beck had gotten traction somewhere. But
I'd already voted for Beck. I couldn't have done it. So.
Same here.
I didn't know that Beck had votes previously either. I found that out after the game, that there were people who couldn't vote.
We did that during like one of the rounds. I think the pair round, we voted back a few of us that didn't get it. So yeah, it was a throwaway.
Yep.
Wesley, you did have one of my favorite moments of the night actually in that round when you got into a room alone and began to consider giving your draft Sequester picks. And then very quickly, when fumbling through the notebook, you were like, I probably shouldn't do this now.
I was so excited because I hadn't gotten to give a confessional yet. I had never been in a room by myself. It was my first game. I've seen other people like hold up their notebooks and like, tell Renee. And I was like, I totally want to do that. I'm like, I'm actually screwed this round. So like, I gotta go and I gotta run. But I had a really fun time that round.
So what were your thoughts overall on the night and playing your Patron game? This is your first game, right? I think it's
first game ever, yeah. I think me and Tyler maybe are the only people who have only played once after last night. But I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of twists for one game.
It was a crazy starting game for you. That's
yeah. And like I'm really surprised. I really came in with low expectations. I thought I was going to be a very early target, but I was really surprised that my name wasn't coming out. I probably played it wrong because I kept playing it like I would play a regular instead, like I was just keeping my name out of everybody's mouths. But that's not what I wanted to do in that specific twist. But I had a really fun time, and I was really surprised how like not bummed I was when I was voted out. I really expected that when I was voted out, I was just gonna be like all sad. But I got voted out, I was like, oh darn, and then I was like super hype about the rest of the game. So I really appreciated it.
Are you gonna play again?
Absolutely. I don't know when, but I got to come back.
Good.
And what about you, Owen?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun. This last time I played in the Fresh Meat Heroes versus Villains. And I feel like with that one, I was like, okay, I made it to jury in that time. I made it to 7th place. I feel like this time, you know, I got that Sequester bucket list out of my way. Now I'm just going to enjoy myself. I'm just going to try to have fun. I don't want to put pressure on myself to like try to make it as far as I can. So I had a lot of fun just chilling, enjoying the time. So
nice.
And also a classic intro video. I loved your video.
Yeah. I love your intro video. So good.
Thank you.
So many vibes.
Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
All right. So round 9 was the second highest vote round. And JC, you went to work immediately. And you played this incredibly well. Like from the second that's what I always say, from the second you unmute, start your strategy. And from the second you unmute, it was the first thing you said about getting votes on you. And it worked.
At that, I was waiting for a round like this, given the history cannot repeat twist and stuff, right? I was thinking that maybe even at final 9, right, Audrey might be mischievous enough to do one more history cannot repeat. So I was thinking if I made it to jury, I would be targeted at 9. So I was like, okay, this is the time, a second highest round or a lowest vote round. Okay, everyone vote for me, vote for me. I was high on Red Bull. I didn't give a shit, all right? Everyone vote for me right now.
You got for yourself too.
Yes.
That's the time to do it, I guess.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, every room that I was in, we would be like, is JC just popping in here and saying to vote for him? And they were like, yeah. And then like JC would pop in, say, please vote for me, and then like disappear immediately like after. And we were like, what? And it worked.
I voted for Brian that round because I thought people are gonna go for JC's thing, and I'm a little worried about myself. So I'm just gonna pile it on Brian.
I guess as the opposition of this round, when I heard the JC plan, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. I was like, 'cause I felt at risk. I was like, I feel very unsafe, so I'm going to. Oh, hi, Ryan.
Hi.
Oh, Greg, were you here already? I don't remember at this point.
No. Greg's here. I have to leave. You're gonna drag me again.
I might drag you out right now.
I know, right?
I pushed Jen because I thought again, I was like, it's gonna be around where women's names are gonna come up. And I think at one point I ran into Ashley and I was like, I think we need to go Jen. I think we could be in trouble.
That's who I voted for, yeah.
That's who I voted for as well.
Yeah, I think Cassie, we were in the room immediately.
This might have been the round back that I wrote "Protect My Son." I had decided either this round or the next round. I was like, okay, Beck is my final 2. Like that's the end. If I
I trusted you so much, and we were like, I think we should push like JC majority and then Jen like as the target here. And so, because like at that point, Jen, like for some reason, like the stars never aligned for us. Like we were never.
We saw each other for like 20 seconds the whole game.
Literally maximum of 20 seconds. It was like really weird.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I wasn't afraid to push your name because we had no connection, and I knew that you were probably ready to do the same thing to me. So it was like,
It was the round was complete chaos because also like from the Podquester side of it, we knew that this was the last round that Day could play the LOS. And so
shady little fuckers.
Yeah. So everybody was trying to figure out what was going on. And because we also weren't sure what the rules were. Like if JC got LOS'd, then would Jen move up and be safe? Because
that happened
then
in our first.
She would be. I'm still not exactly sure what would have happened, but Day pegged it.
Joe,
and
didn't that happen in our mini? Because Miles or someone you played the LOS and yours our first round, and then the second person moved up, and Abby went in our second.
No, Annie
so what would have happened?
Yeah, Annie played it, and then Abby went home because of that. Yeah. So
it would have moved up. Everyone would have moved up. Yep.
So it would have been the same result regardless.
Yeah.
And I think we were all kind of happy that it didn't single-handedly eliminate anyone. Like it still resulted in a tie, and it still put the decision in all of your hands. But it definitely provided for the most entertaining the round could have been.
Yeah.
But
I'm just curious how the vote spread went. Like, how did my name and Ryan?
I wanted you out, Cassie. So I wanted to get like 3 votes on you because I knew you were on me. And I told Jen, I think your name's going to go out there because I felt like Jen was going to go. So I was pushing for Cassie, and somehow Brian and you all.
Yeah, I did not. The Brian push was like, what even happened there? I
pushed Brian.
I did too.
He was pushed.
Brian. I wanted him to get more votes so Cassie could get the second highest, so she could go home.
Got you. I hadn't heard his name at all, so I was shook.
Yeah.
I jumped into a room with Jen and was wanting to, and had told her that her name was going around, and then whoever was in that room at the time said they were voting for Brian, and so I was more wanting to keep Jen, so I voted against Brian, thinking he was hopefully going to get the second highest votes.
Yeah, I was just very confused at that round because I was like, okay, it has to be the second highest, and then JC jumps in, he goes, vote for me, and then like leaves, and we're like, I heard Cassie's name, and I was like, "That's not happening. We're not doing that." And then JC pops back into my room, and is like, "You're voting for me," and then leaves again. And I'm like, "I don't know what's going on here. Why is he saying vote for him?" It just really just took me by surprise. And I was like, "I guess I'm voting JC today."
I was so confused in the revote because of history can't repeat itself. And because I already burnt it on Brian, I was like, oh, I guess I'm playing for Cassie now.
And the revote was supposed to be a vote to save, right? Because of the twist. So
I voted wrong.
I think Ashley and I were actually wanting to save Brian, but through twist of fate, with Cassie in our room, we voted Cassie. She was safe. Audrey said the twist. We were like, oh, wait, but Cassie's here. Yay!
For you, I was like, oh, thank you, guys.
They're like,
After this, JC's public apology to our friend too.
Oh, that was the worst part of the round. Just like, oh gosh.
I was able to vote. I was able to vote for either, which I was like,
me too.
Same, but I promised Cassie.
I voted
Cassie was
incorrectly.
like, "Don't vote for me." I'm like, "I won't." It's like,
I,
we're good.
I don't know how the vote spread on the revote went, but I'm almost wondering if maybe the difference between me staying and going is, did Brian vote for himself in a previous round? Because I voted for myself, obviously, to get the most votes. So I don't know. Like, I was curious how close it was. Like, that might have been like the only difference, because I did not think I didn't think that would go my way. So
I got the impression that a few people could only vote for you on that revote.
I think
which
so.
I think worked in your favour, because that was the case for me. I had voted for Brian the previous round, and then I panicked thinking, "Oh shit, now I'm gonna have to vote out Cassie." But then obviously that's when it's a good thing.
Right.
I think more people were just able to vote for you.
I just misunderstood the vote.
It was so hard to figure out.
This whole game was a giant misunderstanding. It's fine.
They added another twist, and I was gone.
So after the Brian elimination, it brought us to round 10, which was the later round, and also history can't repeat. And this was the round where nobody was safe anymore. And this could have went two ways, because we were all kind of waiting for it, and we were like, it's going to go one of two ways. Either everybody who was safe is going to get targeted, or the people who were safe are going to band together and try to take out, the other people. But also I felt like, because this was history can't repeat, it eliminated that option, because essentially you had to turn on each other. And I do want to start to begin, because I'm sure I'm going to do this a lot, single out Ashley, because I was incredibly impressed with your game in the fact that you received basically no traction the entire game of people targeting you. And we got to this round, which was still history can't repeat, where everybody could have voted for you, and still your name never came up, even though it probably should have for everybody who was safe in those previous rounds. So I think it was really a testament to your gameplay that you managed to keep your name off the chopping block.
Thank you. I know there's a point, I don't know if it's this round, but Joe and I met up, we're going to make sure my name's not going out. Like, that was the only time I really heard my name was saying when we're not going to say my name. So I remember, I don't remember who I was a group with, but we were talking and they're like, we can do this. I'm like, why don't we do Adam? He's been safe the whole game. He has all the votes. Everyone can vote for him. That's why our group went for that.
Yeah, and it seemed for the safe people, you all turned on each other basically immediately. There wasn't much time.
I didn't have a vote because I didn't understand.
I didn't have a vote.
It was in the first round.
I didn't either.
So I didn't have a vote. I was like, it's not really me turning. It's just I can't save Adam. So it's more of a self-preservation moment where I was like running around. Is anyone saying my name? Don't do that. Thank you. So I couldn't even save Adam if I was focusing on saving myself without a vote.
Yeah.
I think I made a Joe push again this round. I didn't have a vote, but I didn't want Adam to go, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep doing this.
Did you pitch that to me, Kat? Did you pitch that to me? Do you think Joe's name or no? I'm trying to think. I would have deflected it hard had I heard Joe, I'm sure. So
I do know at one point it might have actually been this round where I said to you, like, how do you feel about Joe? And you're like, well, don't you think he would have already gotten votes? And I was like, you're right. And I was
like use them as a shield.
At the time, I was trying to like act like I had a vote so people wouldn't like find out, so I could stay like in the know. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess it can be someone else," and I left.
Yeah.
I think I started that round with Joe. I think it was just us in a room, and I was like, "Hey, I don't have a vote because I voted to keep you round 1, just to remind you." Wink, wink. Like I have you.
And I did write your name, and I circled your name like right here. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice.
So I was like, I'm gonna keep you safe. And I pushed for out.
So I was just like, I was actually kind of glad I didn't have a vote, just because it was like less like I didn't have to push somebody's name that round. Like knowing that jury was coming up, and I was like, I don't want to get like bad blood with people. So
meanwhile, I voted for Joe the first round, and so I wrote, "Say you voted Ben if need be." And then that round came. I was like, Joe's name's going out there, so if he comes in, I'm like, yeah, I voted Ben. But I never got into a room with Joe, so I couldn't even push that.
Right. Yeah, my experience was similar to Ryan. I had voted in round 1, but this time at Final 12, I acted as though I did have a vote. So I went around like, hey, Adam's been safe for so long, it's his time, you know. Sorry.
I don't know about anybody else, but I was confused about the rules in this round, as per, because I thought that the history can't repeat would finish the previous round. So I'd been setting up, I'd been trying to work with the people that had been safe, because I was worried that I would be lumped in as like semi in that category, because I was like kind of perceived to have been safe. So I was fully intending to work with the people that had been safe. Then when it was revealed that this was still history can't repeat, it just kind of took, there were so few options at this point.
Yeah, I also had thought that it was ending at this point and we'd be able to push for everyone all again. So I felt completely, after being safe for so long, I got lulled until this really false sense of safety. And then all of a sudden I became felt like a huge target just because it was so easy to vote for me at that point. So I panicked and I didn't know how to get safe. And like, I heard Joe was a name and I was like, well, I haven't actually voted for Joe yet, so I can actually push that name. But I knew it was probably a losing battle, thinking people had already voted for him. So it was a painful round to go out on. But I really enjoyed being safe for so long and was glad I got to play and meet some different people throughout the game.
Yeah, I feel like it was an interesting position to be in for you, especially just because you were the first one safe. And it is, I mean, it's probably a game played that we've never seen on Sequester before, is that someone safe for that long. Like, it really does put such a target on your back when you're not safe anymore. So it's hard to maneuver. I mean, you get to play a large chunk of the game, but it's also very hard to come out of that swinging and you know, surviving for yourself. How was your experience overall? I mean, you made it pretty far, but what were your thoughts? Would you have rather not been safe, do you think, and played the game normally?
No, I was happy to be safe for that long. I thought it was more interesting and less pressure. I'd previously played in 2 private minis, both that had pre-gaming that happened. And so I was really excited to play in a game that no pre-gaming was happening and to just play with new people and have a very pure experience. So having safety, I felt like I got to have that experience without too much stress of being an early out. But I think like I should have maybe thinking about it back. If anyone does have safety for that amount of time again, you could push that you would be an easy person to potentially beat in the end because you were safe for so long and didn't have to worry.
That didn't really work out for Ashley.
I mean, we were close. We got there. Don't worry.
Yikes. Yikes.
We'll talk about that later.
Thank you for coming on, Adam. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so that brought us to the last round before jury, which was yet again another very interesting twist not seen since the live version of Sequester, which was the possession round. And I feel like there's so many ways to play this. Katie brought up a great point in commentary about the fact that you could essentially vote for yourself here, the person that you're possessing, and try to take them out that way, which I don't know if any of you thought of at the time. But it is, an interesting idea for if this is played.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. I was just panicking, chasing Alex around because he was the person I had possessed. I'm like, okay, Alex, I'm willing to vote whoever you want me to vote for, because it's all good. But I never saw him, and the outcome we'll talk about it in a bit.
Yeah. So this round,
speaking of Alex, like
elimination, and then that ending up with the drag of Alex. So how did we get there?
So last round, Beck and I were really good. Like we kind of established, like we trusted each other. So I pushed really hard for Beck because I know I wouldn't be dragged, especially because of the whole possession thing. So he'd be like, "There's no way Joe would vote for me." So I was pushing so hard for Beck because I don't think he would have dragged me, and I didn't get dragged. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had JC's vote. And I didn't see you a single time that whole gosh.
I had Larry, and I asked him, I go, Larry, who do you want? He says, I don't care. So I got to pick. So I was like, I just kind of was trying to throw it honestly, but it landed on back in my sorry.
Yeah.
I was a good ally, and I was already in the room. It was Beck and I alone in the room, and I got his name, and I was like, and Beck was like, well, I'd prefer you throw it on someone that you don't think will go. So I actually put his vote on Alex, knowing that I didn't think anyone else would vote him.
Yeah. I think, I was trying to talk to you and whoever was in our room, so I didn't get to, move around, a ton that round, which I think really did me nice. And I didn't get to see JC at all when I had JC's vote. And, our room was, kind of do we do Gavin? Do we do this? But then people didn't want to put their person's vote on the majority, so I didn't feel confident with what our room was saying. So I was like, I hope it's just somebody random and not me, but it wasn't. So
I got Cassie's vote and kind of was hoping she'd get dragged because I thought she was a big threat.
That is tea.
Child.
Oh my God.
And he was never gonna drag.
Yeah, wrong person. I was on.
I didn't get my.
Well, who was all up for nomination? I was gonna say, who was all up for nomination that one, even to be dragged?
Literally,
it was a lot of people. It was Gavin, Larry, Cassie, Alex, Ashley, and Joe.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be Larry or Alex. I just the people that were safe, and then I just didn't feel as comfortable with either of them. So it's I love the other ones, and I want them to go first. So it was nothing against Alex. It was just kind of yeah.
The worst part about that was that I was in the same room as Alex when he got dragged, but my vote had the name Alex on it. So I was like, shit.
I found this one particularly hard because you kind of had two people's vote in your hand at the same time. You're the person you're voting for and the person whose vote you had. So it was kind of, because often when you get to these and you throw your vote, you've got to find someone that you'd be kind of semi-happy to throw your vote on in case they do go, but then also be prepared for your vote, your possessed person to face the consequences. So I just found the whole round was a mess. I couldn't really get anyone to. I couldn't really work out which direction anybody was going in.
I never found out who had my vote. I couldn't find them.
Thanks for throwing my vote, Greg.
Yeah, because it's because you were someone I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
Then it was hard because I wanted to throw someone that I didn't really mind if they went, and chances that would within the hope that they still wouldn't actually go.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways to play this. The thing that I thought about last night, essentially the goal would be to vote for someone would never drag you, an ally of some sort, and just make sure that the person you're possessing would drag that person over you in case your vote gets on there, which you take out somebody you're close to, but you also are safe for the drag, which is
and you get the jury.
Right. I think that idea has merit. I'm only hesitant about it because I would like to keep as many allies as possible with me as long as possible in the game.
You wanted to get all 12 of your list to jury?
Really?
You were loyal to the soil. Someone might say that. They would.
It's gonna hurt to be loyal to 12 people, though.
So Beck, what were your thoughts? I feel like you played a really solid game considering your name had come out, pretty early-ish, and you managed to survive as long as you did. What were your thoughts playing in the game?
I think that twist on drag round is evil. And that being said, I hope Audrey does it again. I honestly had a ton of fun in this game, even with all the chaotic twists and everything. I won a private mini before this, so I came into this knowing that I was not going to do as well, and I set my hopes really low, and I was just I just want to have fun and just I don't know, see where that gets me, and honestly, it was worth it. So,
which one did you win? Was it private, or? It
was a private, yeah, private. It was my cousin's birthday mini. I got to final 2 with her and beat her in the final 2.
I heard about that.
Wow, happy birthday to her.
Apple appointment, right?
Huh? What happened?
The person who got booted had to go to an Apple appointment.
Oh yeah, yeah. So honestly, that's good enough to I'll brag about that any day. And then being able to drag somebody in a Patron Mini is always fun. So
absolutely. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Bye, Beck.
Bye, guys.
Stay back.
Back with the good hair.
Bye, my child.
Love him.
Every time.
Every time.
That brought us to jury, and shocker, it was History Can't Repeat.
I hated this so much.
I never want to hear
never repeat.
Yeah.
The first 10 rounds wasn't enough.
I know, right? Ryan and I started in a room and we were
you
just...
can only vote for one person.
Yeah!
Ever. You pick one person, you can only vote that person's name down. That's it.
Oh my god, we spent so long just looking at the list of people we could vote for, and it's nope.
It was...
Which is impressive,
so bad.
Thinking about it. The fact my name didn't come up, that, again, for earlier points.
By the end, there was only 3 people I had voted for the whole game.
Same.
So I actually was shitting bricks this round because I left my room and I walked into a room with Cassie, Larry, and I think Gavin. Gavin just left. And I heard my name Joe, Larry was I heard that you have a final 2 with Greg, and I was Greg was someone that I did want to take. That was an actual alliance. So I was oh my gosh, it's Cassie, the one that's been pushing me. But I've already voted for Cassie, so I was you know what? She already poisoned Larry, so I unfortunately have to take out Larry, even though I kind of was close with him. So at that moment, I knew it's definitely Cassie and Gavin. They were coming after me, and I had to protect Greg and myself. So we had to take down Larry on that round.
The thing is,
me,
but I had no part in that. Gavin was the one that told Larry. I learned that from Larry later. Larry was telling when you walked in, that was the first time I'd ever heard that. And that's why I was it was very awkward because I still wanted to target you, but I didn't want to target you for such an obvious reason. So I was oh, Joe, what's going on? Trying to play it off. But yeah, Larry was telling us that for the first time, and I was oh, fuck, this is awkward. So, yeah.
Because I remember the conversation, but I had no memory of anyone else joining. And because you have these conversations all the time, I feel like.
It was me, you, and Larry. So I don't know if Larry was kind of confirming that. But my final 2 with you, or final 4, it was true. So I was really scared that people were coming on to me and you.
Yeah, because it hadn't worked its way back to me until it was all blown up. I had no idea that people were talking about this.
Yeah.
Right, until they came back from that round.
So after the Larry elimination, that brought us to the next round, which I feel was one of the most interesting rounds in the game. And the JC Public Apology Tour is going. I have a lot of questions about this round. So it started with Jen getting safety. The people exiled were JC, Gavin, Joe, and Cassie. This went the complete opposite way that I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, me too.
Same. I was Joe is going home.
Who did he
there's no way Joe survives this. I was Joe is going home. They're never going to let Joe make it past this. And then the 4 of us that were safe, we just see the J pop up in Cassie's face, and we're just
our jaws dropped to the ground.
We all were just is anyone else seeing this? And then Joe popped in, we're why is he here? And
Louie,
Y'all
how
did
did
something
you see it
wrong
going?
here.
So Ashley, when you sent Cassie to exile, you had said that she would be safe and she knew who to vote for.
I was just throwing that out.
Okay, we all thought you meant JC, but we weren't 100% sure.
I mean, that seemed like the obvious target in my brain, but I just wanted to say that so like if she was safe, I would be good going forward because I had alliance with everyone in that room left to pick. So I was like, I just need to say something to save my ass moving forward.
I thought you almost like sealed her fate when you said that, because as soon as someone says that about someone, I feel like it automatically puts a target on them.
I mean, and it was fine because Cassie was playing a great game. So I was like, well, I mean, I didn't want Joe to leave. I like JC. I like Gavin. I liked all of you. So I was like, as long as Joe doesn't leave was like my big number one. So, but I don't know.
Nope.
I didn't have like a huge strategy behind saying it. I just said it in the moment.
Yeah, in my ignorance, I was never letting Joe leave that round. Oops.
I felt so bad.
But yeah, oh man, I should have listened to Gavin and Cassie.
You should have.
Given what I know.
Yeah,
You should have.
I've only seen a few clips of this. Can you spill the tea? What happened?
Okay, so I guess from my perspective, this round was the safest I felt the entire game. The safest. And I'll tell you so early on in the game, I was in a room with JC and Ashley, and I meant it with my whole chest. I was like, I want to work with you guys long term. Like, I like this final three. I like this is it. And then I also was really like, I had a really strong bond with Ryan going into this round. And when it was funny, when Beck went out, I crossed Beck's name out and I wrote an arrow to Ryan's name and said, protect my son Ryan, because he was going to be who I was going to take the final two.
I love being everyone's second. It's fine.
So I was like, okay, this is good. And I was like, I think Joe will go here because he's been pushed so much. I was like, surely people see that this motherfucker's playing the best game. Like, surely, I was like, surely they will see this. And I never in a million years did I think, like, even when Ashley exiled me, it didn't even like throw up a red flag to me that like, oh, I could be in trouble. Like, I was still like, okay, I think I'm still good though, because I'll just tell JC, I got your back. Whatever you want to do, I'll vote with you. And then he immediately, I don't even get a word in, and he says my name. I just saw red, and I was like, oh, hell no. I just like, I had to go back and watch because I was like, I hope I didn't say anything too bad, because I know I was throwing up a storm.
No.
But it really
It was all game. No.
But I did throw like towards the end, like I was like, I like threw my pen, and like my cat was like sleeping in like her little hut.
No,
running. I was pissed, though. I was pissed, but
We didn't even get to say goodbye to you. We just saw like your J go over your name. We're like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. I was
I
was out of there.
The reason why I did that is because in the past few rounds I established quite a close bond with Gavin, right? And I was in Joe's starting room, obviously. So I was going to be loyal to the soil no matter what with Joe, right? We saw how that turned out, but anyway. but yeah, so with that combination of four, it's like, okay, not Gavin, not Joe. Who's left? Crap! I do not want Cassie to go here, but that was the only option in that situation. Yeah.
And I did not know, like, I did not know the connection between Ashley and Joe. And I didn't know, obviously, the starting room connection between the three of you. So had I known that, I would have been like, oh, I am in like a lot of trouble in reality. But like I said, I thought it was very, very safe. So.
Yeah, and you did a really good job fighting for yourself too, because I mean, I think you changed Gavin's mind at least in the first vote and got him to tie it. And I think if JC wasn't so staunch,
it was
a tie.
And
shoot!
That's why it took 7 years.
I know. There was no music either for us sitting, so we're like,
it was so awkward. I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm like, did the game end? I'm confused.
It was very weird because I had no relationship with Gavin at all, like none. And I probably, in retrospect, I kind of wonder what would have happened, especially since Gavin clearly had an agenda against Joe too, and I wasn't really aware of that at the time. I knew about the Larry component of things, but I didn't know that Gavin was the one that told Larry the stuff about Joe and Greg. So I wonder what would have happened if I had pushed Gavin, but I don't think that would you?
Yeah, because when I asked you to please save me, I was kind of willing to work with you, but if you would have pushed Gavin, I would have gone for him just because I feel like I didn't really talk to him as much. I know you were kind of coming after me, but I feel like he was kind of dangerous too, just because I didn't know where his head was at. So if you would have pushed Gavin, I would have said, JC, let's go Gavin. But you pushed me, so I was like, okay, Cassie's.
I just had no idea where his head was, and then when he started talking more, I was like, oh, like he really we could have gotten him out. I think instead. So.
Cassie, at that point, had you heard Joe say my name at all as like a target?
No.
Myself.
Good. Yeah. Because Cassie, at that point, right, if I had heard something like, oh, Joe had pushed me before, I would have instantly switched. Okay, Cassie, let's vote Joe out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because,
I really thought, I was like, well, I think. I thought that you would have invested interest in going after Joe because I knew, in my whole heart, I knew Joe was not going to let you get to the end. I was like, Joe, no, he is not going to let JC get to the end of the game. He's going to cut JC soon. Like I knew this, and I was like, okay, I think Jen might be with Joe. I think Greg is with Joe. Like I don't surely JC sees that Joe is getting a really good foothold in the game. And when he didn't, I was shocked. I was like, how does he not see it? But now I get why. So
yeah, I think that's one of the things. Yeah, one of the things we were looking at, and we were saying the whole time what a great game you were playing, JC. But I was worried, similar to what happened in Draft Sequester, is that we're going to get down to 6, we're going to get down to 5, and everybody's going to take you out because you're such a threat and would win it too. And everyone was thinking, well, Cassie is probably one of the only people who may remain loyal to you despite that and may still stick on your side, even knowing what a huge threat you were, whereas the others probably wouldn't. So we thought it would probably be a better bond for you going long term.
JC's name was definitely written down for me a few times those rounds, to go for. So yeah,
I do want to say, Cassie, if I would have been a viewer, I would have been rooting for you. You had good reads on everybody. I felt bad getting rid of you, but you had amazing reads on everybody in the game.
It was a very different game. In my first 2 minis, I tell myself I always want to play a game I'm proud of, so I want to go in playing offensively and playing aggressively. And whatever happens, I'm fine with that. But this game, I was actually frustrated because I was I have to play so defensively because I don't want to go on a history can't repeat itself round. And it it really made me very nervous. I played a very nervous defensive game, but I still was like trying to push. And I was like, especially after that first round when I pushed Joe like just so hard, I was like, this is too aggressive for this game. Like, I think like this is just way too aggressive to even do. I have to dial it back. So yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen that from someone before, is that round one, as soon as you went off mute, you had like, you didn't even say hello. It was like people were saying hello. You were just like, oh, shut up. Joe has to go.
I was like, okay, players, we can begin. I was like, Joe. Because I was just like, when I saw his video, I'm like, okay, they have a billion twists. LOSs are going to be just like a godsend if you get them in this game. And he's talking about, oh, he wins LOSs. I'm like, why would you want to be the one with your name out there, and then Joe's name had like, if his name never got put out there, but he has all these LOSs and all this shit to get out of everything. I'm like, why would anyone want him there? So I was like, I need to get him out now. And then I realized afterwards, I was like, ugh, that was just way too aggressive for history can't repeat. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I was so frazzled, I didn't even care. So,
but this is the furthest you've gone, correct? Was this the furthest?
It is. So, if you didn't catch the reference I was making in my intro video, girl, I flopped hard in my last mini. Like I am the reason Majority Rules does not go to a wheel anymore, because I was the one that went out on that route. that was like my last mini, so I was very disappointed in my performance then. I was like, oh, like I need to be better than that. Like I can't let that be my last mini ever. Not that I'm done, but so I was, but like
retiring right here.
In 5:30, I just played to have fun. Like I was having a couple of drinks. I was like, whatever happens, happens. It was my first mini, so yeah, I feel very accomplished. So.
And then before you leave, just give us a little background into what your jury vote was and how you decided.
Initially I was like, Larry and I, like, we were vibing. We were bitter as fuck about a couple of things. We were just like, yeah, we're not over them. We're not over them. But then as time went on, I was like, I don't, like, people were saying in the jury room, like, we're not voting for Joe. We want, like, they were like, I want Ashley to win. Or Ryan, actually, had you gone to final two, you would have won, I think, by a landslide.
You hear that, Greg? You hear that, Greg? Thank you so much, Greg.
Because the entire jury was like, oh, I love Ryan. And that's kind of where I was like, oh, Ryan's so cute. I love him. And I was thinking that way too. But I was very like, I did not know who I was going to vote for. And ultimately, I just felt like because I was so laser focused on Joe and I recognized him, like just something about him, like not even like making the connection between the minis. I was just like, he just gives an aura of like, he's going to get far in the game, he's going to win. And then being able to see his game and really chart it out, I'm like, I think he played the best strategic game. So I kind of went that way. But it was no slam against Ashley's game at all because she played well too. So.
Absolutely. It was great seeing you again, Cassie. We were very happy to see you go as far as.
Outstanding.
I'm sure we'll see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Bye, guys.
I do want to touch a little bit here on Ryan's game because I was very excited to see. I think we all spotted it in Sequester. That, I mean, you know, let's be honest, that game, as fun as it was a complete mess. But I think you, above anyone, stood out as someone that we all said, like, oh, he's like really, really good. And we wanted to see you come back and play one of these Patron Minis. And I think you proved again that, you know, you can do really well playing with people you know, but you can play just as well playing with complete strangers because you just have a very good grasp of the game. And I think going in, everybody kind of assumed like, all right, he's going to go far and he has a good shot. Like people were saying he could Tommy this and go 2 for 2 just because you have a good grasp of the game.
Ryan?
So
go ahead. No, you go ahead. I was going to say like.
I would have voted for Ryan if he made it to the end, hands down.
So coming into this, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say that I'm a previous player / winner. I didn't know if anyone even knew that I had played because, like, I didn't know if anyone saw Sequester. And so in my intro, I ended up saying Johnny Stockton's name. And so I was thinking, like, oh, shit, did I make a mistake saying that? Like, are people going to know Johnny and then just do all the connect the dots? And I was like, you know what? Just go for it. And then I ended up getting safety round 2. And I was like, this is like the stars are aligning here. And then talking to Johnny afterwards, he was like, why didn't you say at the final 4 when you were about to get dragged that you were a previous winner and you kept that to yourself? I said, I didn't want to rely on a previous game. Like, I didn't want to say, you know what, I won that game, I'm entitled to win this game, because that's not true. Like, this game is a standalone game, and so I wanted to win based off of the moves that I made in this game. And so, you know what, like, I respect Greg for taking me out a little better, but I wanted to play as, like, strong and as, like, quiet about my past as possible, and I'm proud of the way I played.
Greg, did you, and this is jumping ahead a bit, but A, did you know that Ryan had won? And B, would that have changed your mind if you found out?
No, and probably not. Because like I say, because Ryan had played like a good game in this game anyway. I think having the previous win to me was irrelevant because it was just based on this gameplay. And I think just in that, with the 3 that I had to choose from, like, it's not great either way.
I didn't stand a chance. The fact that in the final 5, I didn't realize that there was like 2 duos, and I somehow managed to get final 3. Like at final 4, I was like, you know what? Greg said my name, balls to the wall. I'm not going to get 4th. I just want to get Greg out of here because if I can beat Greg, then pick. And I don't know, like I just knew I didn't want Greg to get past me after saying my name.
One thing I'll say about your game, Ryan, it was very early, I think like 2 or 3. We got a moment, I don't know, there's other people in the room, but we connected really strong and hard and fast. And with that carried on throughout the whole game for me. And that you were like in my final like 4 plans for sure from a lot of the time. So, I mean, you threw out the Hufflepuff part, which I mean, EA Hufflepuffs, let's just get that out there.
Team Hufflepuff. We love
Yeah,
to see
absolutely. We do love to see it. That and then whenever we're in a room together, like in between rounds, we'd always like have a hell of a time.
Losing
Like,
our shit. Your Capri Sun had me crying. She just goes, she grabs a glass of wine, she takes a sip, puts it down, turns around and just grabs a Capri Sun in the same breath and just takes a sip. I just lost it.
I mean,
I was
while
like,
we're commenting on it, the highlight of my entire mini was the Capri Sun. You know, we stand the Capri Sun.
It's so good.
Yeah.
no.
I'd like to. Oh, sorry, Ashley.
I was just gonna say that was kind of a strategy, even though it doesn't seem like one. Just kind of being goofy and jovial throughout the thing, like making those connections when like you're not we're not supposed to be talking, but like if you can laugh at me being goofy, like what else?
I did feel like we made a connection because we ended up a lot drinking.
I kept hearing you.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not allowed to communicate, but it seems like that's a good way to.
Or the time that Ashley was the only one who noticed it. There was 5 of us in a room, but Ashley took a sip, someone else took a sip. I think Greg might have taken a sip, or someone took a sip, and then I just go.
I died.
Ashley just loses it, and like no one else is knowing why we're laughing, and she's just like covering her face because she's turning red. It was just like communicating in like not a strategic way was really fun in this game.
And I use that extremely hard in my game.
Yeah.
Social. Hashtag social.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah, I'd like to give full credit to Ryan as well. Ryan was the only name I had circled twice on my list of people to work with. Yeah.
Except for that time that you didn't say my name during the final 6, but it's totally fine. When you were like, oh yeah, me, Greg, Ashley, and Joe, let's all vote for Jen. I was like, Ryan's still here? What's going on here? So I was like, okay, cool.
First, but Ryan, you were still with me at that point. Still had you.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yep. So this leads nicely into Ryan getting his bounty, because in round 14, this was the Gavin elimination. And Gavin's main goal, it wasn't that long of a round, but it seemed like Gavin was the only one really doing the talking and trying to break up Greg and Joe. And we weren't sure, because nobody really said Gavin's name too much, but it seemed like he just put himself out there so much that it made him the easy vote.
Because everyone started the round saying, I've got you, but I'm not voting you. Yeah. In a big old cycle.
Can I say something about this round? Okay, the roots of Gavin's elimination actually happened the previous round in that little room with
me, Cassie, you, and Gavin.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was throwing so much information out there about Joe and Greg being close. I'm like, okay, this is gonna come out next round, and Gavin is gonna basically dig his own grave. That's why I didn't want Gavin gone at 8. He was such a prime target at 7. I felt bad for him, but you know, he was gonna implode. So for round final 7, I only wrote 4 letters on my notes. STFU. Shut the fuck up. Don't say anything, Gavin. Nice meeting you, buddy.
Oh my god. I don't remember if I talked at all in that round very much at all, because
I think I just told Ryan he's my bounty and I'm not voting for him when JC asked me.
I don't even think I told Greg I was had his
Thank
bounty.
you.
I literally wrote, Greg, my bounty. Nope.
Nope. Yeah. I saw Ashley. Nope.
JC was
I wasn't gonna vote for Gavin, and then I remember it was like literally right before the round ended, someone was like, okay, then maybe we'll just do Gavin. I was like, well, he's my bounty, so I mean, I'm safe next round.
Might as well.
Sure. Yeah. Might as well guarantee my safety, which was great. Like I needed that.
That's what happens a lot of times with the bounty. I mean, you just kind of back yourself into it, and when you hear the name, just go with it. You don't, you just gotta kind of get lucky sometimes.
I didn't have to think twice.
Yep. So after the Gavin elimination, that brought us to the final 6. Ryan, you were safe. And this is the round that ended with Jen's elimination. It was kind of Jen versus JC. And as per usual, has this become the norm in the final 6? everyone has an LOS. There's so many LOSs. Everybody says they have one.
Audrey had an LOS. Louie had
I
an
never
LOS.
claimed it. I never
America had an
claimed.
LOS.
Yeah,
Like-
I heard everyone had an LOS. All 6 of us, obviously.
I remember going at a point to go, wow, was there really that many LOSs?
Joe had 6 of them in his pocket. Like, it's fine.
He
Charlie
was in his
strategy
closet.
now become the thing of every like you just go into it and you say, "Oh, I have 3 LOSs." There's no possible way you have 3 LOSs. People will believe it. If you say
Joe might.
I didn't have any, but I felt like it's because I was such a big threat about like grabbing LOSs, people would believe me, but I never got one in the final 6.
So who got the one in that round then? Because we
I knew it.
I saw it. I was like,
I was like, okay, I'm gonna fib. I was like, oh, I'm not lying anymore.
And my favorite was when he was like, I have an LOS. Oh, you wait and see.
Yeah, you wait and
I
see.
love
I got
that.
the LOS
You
after
might actually see
that.
this LOS being played.
But you know what? I genuinely thought that the votes were gonna fall on me. So I was like, I was super pleased when that happened. But only to find out later that Joe was saving me for the next round.
I felt so bad getting rid of Jen, but I had to eliminate Jen just to keep you at Final 5 to turn on you with Ashley and Ryan.
yeah.
The shenanigans.
Noted with thanks.
I wanted to take Greg to final 2, so I feel like if he voted for me, they took a person, take him to final 2, and go for a wheel for him.
I felt bad for you, like voting for you in that round, Jen, because like you did bring up a lot of really good points. But I knew if I went with you, I wouldn't have the numbers like going. I knew I had basically everyone else in the room would take me, so I felt really bad.
I kind of figured that I had everyone's vote against me.
I voted with you, actually. I voted for JC. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. You're welcome. I was really hoping when you said like I have an LS, I was like, you know what? She might have. You know, let's do this. Let's do this.
Might
And
as
then I
well
was like
throw.
slightly mistaken. I was like, I didn't say anything. It's fine.
It was the one thing that we were thinking, like watching if you're going to fake an LOS, is maybe not saying a name, because if you're confident that you have the LOS and that you have the sole decision, you almost want people, assuming you had it, you want people to vote for you to be the lone decision maker, which is a huge gamble, because you also, if you don't have one, you want to fight to get the votes on other people. But if you're going to say it, it's almost like you have to fully commit and be like, vote for me. Yes, vote for me. I have an LOS, in hopes that people will deflect. But, you know, it's hard to do.
The last round and this round was kind of a case that the less you said, the better. Unless, obviously, you were the initial target. Like, both rounds, people were brought up straight away. And then it benefited everyone else to just not challenge that, basically. Like, in the last round, everyone was piling on Gavin. This round, it was Jen or JC. So it kind of, like, if the rest of us had said something, it could easily have just turned back on us. So, like, not that I wanted to see Jen go at all, but it just seemed like it's better to just let this play out than to risk it at that point, because especially with everyone claiming an LOS, it could have gone anyway.
So Jen, how was it playing? I know you played in the Hunger Games, a part of District 3's demise, RIP District 3. How did it go for you playing in your first Patron Mini?
I felt a lot more relaxed playing in this one because everyone had played before, but it wasn't like I was playing with Sparks or anything, who is a big game player. I also didn't really have a final 2 going to any of it. I didn't really get in a room with anyone alone, so I didn't have a super strong ally. So I was like, I vote for whoever at most of it.
And then tell us a little bit about your jury vote and how you decided on who you voted for to win.
I spent the most time with Joe. So I saw his game. I felt more of a connection to Joe. I did think Ashley fought very hard and had great jury answers, but at the end of the day, I spent more time with Joe, so I had to give him my vote.
Gotcha. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
All right. So that brought us to the final 5. And after the puzzle, Joe and Greg were safe. It seemed like, Ashley, you were kind of the swing vote here, because it seemed like
I surely was.
Clear sides. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you made your decision and what everybody else was thinking.
Well, I listened to both sides. That was one thing I was very much so. I wanted to make it appear that I was split, so they wouldn't turn it on me. Right? That was a big key. But Joe had my loyalty, loyal to the soil further than the rest of the soil. So I had to go with Joe to get him to the final four.
Yeah, and my whole plan was to. I saw JC how strong of a game you were playing, especially in jury. You were dictating like, who are you voting for? Who are you voting for? I'm voting for it. Like you took control of pretty much the whole jury phase, and I was like, that is a huge threat to keep. So if I were to get rid of you, I had plans of getting rid of Greg because I had to deal with Ashley and I had to deal with Greg. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to be dragged, and I was banking on Greg dragging Ryan, and that's why I ended up getting rid of you. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I have a question for Ashley, actually. If during the final 5 round, instead of saying that, Joe, I won't drag you, if I said, Ashley, I won't drag you, keep me at 4, I won't drag you out, which I would have kept that promise, by the way, would it have swayed your decision either
I
way?
would have went and asked Greg and Ryan if they were in the final 4, would they drag me, and see what that would have resulted to, because it might have scared me a bit, but I like everyone in this I felt so confident moving forward with, that I had a good bond with, that I didn't think I'd be dragged by anyone.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I feel like that's become the new thing that we've seen. And, you know, the games always change in the strategies that we see. But the last few, at least like the last week or so, at 5, it's like, okay, I won't drag you if you keep me. Right. But we've also seen it immediately switch, where as soon as we get to 4, the person's like, never mind, I just said that. Right. So it's almost like kind of who you ask and knowing their previous gameplay, and if they play loyal or not, if they're just going to change their mind immediately or if they'll actually stick to it. Because if you can find 2 people who will stick to it, you essentially guarantee yourself final 2. But it's hard to get people to keep their word in that situation.
That's why I had to go with Joe.
Yeah, especially when it was so open. Like, if you got 2 people in front of the other, like in front of the whole group, to say I'm not going to drag you, then it could easily just go and flip on to Ashley. Like, I wasn't going to vote for Ashley, but if Ashley was trying to fish for like, oh, JC's not going to drag me and Ryan's not going to drag me, so like, what am I? It would have just felt like it was like her fishing for her best option, and clearly that was what she was doing, but she needed to do it very subtly and not as in your face.
Yep.
Which is smart. Very smart.
Yeah, definitely. That was a hard one to go around, because I didn't want to say too much in that round. I didn't want to show my cards until we voted, basically. I let both sides like say both things, and I was just waiting it out. And I knew what I was going to do, but I just wanted it to appear that I was not decided.
I would have been blindsided if you voted for me. I fully was like, you know what? Like, we came into these last rounds like with an agreement. So I was like, I have Ashley's vote. And then when Joe said it, I was like, oh, we're good. So if you would have switched, I would have been like, oh.
Can I say something really
cool. Like, it would have.
Before I forget, I watch Survivor a lot, and I have one of my favorite contestants. Ashley, I feel like you play like a very strong Surrey game. Both of you are like so dangerously, like you have such a dangerous social game. And that's why when I went to the final 2, I was like, I'm happy that we're there, but I was like, yeah, honestly, it's anyone's game. You have such a very, very dangerous social game, and I give you so much props for that. Like, I really want to go back and watch it, because I think it's probably going to be one of the most beautiful games to see.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that means so much. And I don't know, I'm always a social being, and if I can rely on my social and my loyal, like that was what I went in with. Like, that's yeah.
So JC, I mean, it was great to see. I didn't expect you to be on there last night until Renzo told me like right before, and I was like, well, that's exciting, especially since you had just played and done so well, and back to back same week, you go so far. I mean, that's a lot. That takes a toll, but you did so well twice in a row. How did it feel? You hadn't been in a Patron Mini since your original Mini.
Yeah,
so
3.5 months. Yeah.
That's basically 2 years in Sequester time. How did it feel to get in there again?
Really good, really good. I mean, like, I have always wanted to advocate redemption from my original Patron Mini, and I'm glad to see so many people return and do so well. And now I can finally say myself included. So I'm very happy for that. Before I go, can I just lay out my ideal endgame scenario just real quick? Yeah. Okay. So assuming that unfortunately Ryan left, right, at Final 4, we had 2 very strong pairs. We would have went after each other. So likely Greg and myself would have went for Joe. Joe and Ashley would have went for me. right? I was hoping that we would be in a tie and the remaining two go on a wheel, right? At that point, if Greg went out, Greg would not drag me. I would be in the final two. I did not really mind who I sat next to because I just wanted a chance to plead my case to the jury. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been hard for anyone to beat you in a final two. Like I think you probably would have swept it pretty.
I don't think anyone wanted to sit next to you.
No,
that means a lot to me. Thank you.
JC, quickly before you go, tell me a little bit about your jury vote.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to the final two questioning open-minded. I wanted to hear all the answers, and I did not vote until the very end. I listened to everything, right? What it came down to is basically the same reason that I voted for Charlie to win in Draft Sequester a few days ago, right? Joe was the most vocal in terms of who got me out. Right, he gave very specific reasons, and to my question, he also put in a bit of flattery. Because I asked when do you feel most in danger, he said the final 8 round, and thank you for saving me. So it's like, okay, very very smart jury management there, and because of that, even though I love Ashley, she's amazing, and she deserves every bit of the praise that she's getting right now, and the jury votes that she got. Right, my vote ultimately went to Joe.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you for coming on, JC. I'm sure we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you very much. See you all. Good job, Final Four. Bye.
All right. So Final Four, Ryan, Greg, Joe, Ashley. How did we get to where we got with the Greg elimination? At one point, it was basically everybody was threatening to drag Ashley was kind of the trend in the four.
Yeah.
But Greg, I feel like
big mouth.
The one mistake I thought for Greg was that you said that, as compared to both of you threatening to drag Ashley, that it was all, basically empty promises, which I 100% agree with you because people change their mind all the time. But saying that as compared to someone who is saying 100%, that's what I'm going to do. If you see a little bit of weakness there, that's kind of the route you go. Now, in this case, Ashley, you threw your vote.
I 100% did
for either one. But what was all of your thoughts at 4?
I feel like the previous, early, mid-jury, I had been trying to lay back and just let things play out unless I thought I was in danger. But then at the final 5, I stuck my neck out basically, which I think, even if it probably played out the same way, I think I just sealed my fate by advocating for JC. And then because the opposite of him, he was my number 1. And I just always banked on getting to Final Four with him and banking on the fact that he wouldn't make it through 4 and that if he got taken out, he wouldn't drag me. So I think then I was coming into that 4 being the only person that voted in the wrong way. And I just feel like I didn't give up, but I just felt like there was not much I could do to counter that, basically.
For me,
I feel like...
Go ahead, Ryan. You go. No, you. I'll go after.
So I was like... so once JC left and I opened my mouth and said, with all respect, I was like, nope, take all those words back. And I kind of regretted that because as the round kept going, I started seeing one, if Ashley voted for me, she was getting dragged 1,000,000%. You said empty promises. I said, no, that's a hard promise. Ashley's getting dragged. But then as it started going and Ashley wasn't making a decision, it started becoming very clear to me that the way that the votes were going to go were I was going to vote for Greg, Joe was going to vote for Greg, Greg was going to vote for me, and then Ashley was going to throw her vote on Joe. Because I knew if Ashley didn't want to make a decision and say, I'm going to pick one, she's going to throw her vote on Joe and cop out. And then when that happened, I was like that, why did I not vote for Joe? As I sensed Greg, I was like, you bozo, vote for Joe because you have this hunch. And then I didn't. And then, so I was very, I was throwing it back and forth. If I vote for Joe, is he going to drag me or is he going to drag Greg? If I vote for Greg, I'm guaranteeing myself 3rd place. But I was like, you know what? I said what I was going to do. Greg threw my name out there. I can't let that slide and pay the consequence.
Can we talk about throwing at Final Four? Because I've heard it's controversial both ways, doing it or not doing it. So I played a mini with a few of my friends a few nights prior, and I did the same thing in Final Four, and I got to the final 2. So I knew I could work and it could work successfully. In the fact for me, when I heard confirmed and I double checked with everyone, all right, so you're going to do that. okay, you're going to do that. Everyone told it and laid it out on this simple platter in front of me. There was no way I wasn't going to do it to get to 2. Like, it might be a cop out, but it was a move for me that I had to go forward. And, for my game, not ever having that target, I'm going to take it. And I've been dragged at 3 before, so I was like, not happening.
It's something that I think has become important in terms of wordage, which I learned 2 games ago in emo night, in the fact that you have to be so clear and not just say, don't vote for me. You have to say, vote with me. Like, if you do not,
I made that mistake.
This person specifically, I will drag you, because it's semantics, right? It's semantics is that, oh, you didn't say it. You didn't say that. You just said, I didn't have to vote for you. I didn't vote for you, so you can't drag me. Haha. Like, that's kind of what it is. Is it a cheap way out? I preferred how you did it, Ashley, as compared to voting for yourself. I feel like voting for yourself is a bigger cop-out. You did vote for another player, which I feel like is a little bit more credible, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it the night before on Friday night when Josh voted for himself and then got dragged. Because I saw that, I was like, if that happens, I would be pissed off as well. And so, like, I do think it was like a slight cop-out, and I wouldn't have done that, but I needed to, like, play that up for Ashley, because I was like, this is the only shot I have. Like, if I'm going to save myself from this drag, I need to paint Ashley as, like, someone who did not take the game in her hands and instead made an easy decision. It was a smart decision, like 100% smart decision, but I needed to paint that as, like, no, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. So I really needed to paint Ashley as, like, the bad guy in the situation. It didn't work.
I kind of saw it as like because I was expecting 3 votes on me anyway. And then when it turned out the way it was, I kind of, I saw as a vote for Joe as a vote against me anyway. So so to me, it didn't matter. Like, and the fact is, I just wasn't going to drag Ashley anyway. Right. So, like, it wasn't I didn't vote for her because she didn't vote for me. I didn't drag her just because I hadn't planned to. So, like, I don't think it was like a cop out or anything, because I saw it as just as bad as voting for me anyway. So, like, it's like, I don't like. Although, if I ever get to this point again, I would definitely be saying vote with me or whatever. So I'll make it very clear. But for me, it didn't actually impact my decision, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and Joe never threatened to drag me because I knew he never would. So that's why I could throw the vote there.
But it would have been interesting if Ryan did end up throwing his vote on me. Like, I would not have dragged Ashley either way. I would have been like, damn, that's actually good. I thought you would have just voted to, like, get me on. I would have been like, damn, that's a great move. But that would have been really interesting. And I don't know who I would have dragged in that situation. But
I figured it was me, because I was like, there's no way that Joe would let that slide. So that's why I was like, am I going to throw my vote onto Joe and then get dragged, or go do what I said I was going to do?
Maybe, I think in that scenario, maybe, like, pushing Ashley would have been, I don't know, Ashley, who would you have dragged if, like, let's say you were the one eliminated?
I don't want to think about that, to be frankly honest. But
that assumed that all 3 of us voted for her.
Yeah, because I don't know. Both, literally, I've worked with all 3 of you from the beginning.
Say a name. Say a name.
I can't, because I don't have to.
There you go. Keep your cards in case you play with them again. You never know.
I love a cop out.
I'll take it.
So that brought us to the final 2 of Joe and Ashley. This was actually a final. Usually I don't have much to say about the actual jury questions, but I do feel like there's a bit to say here. But first off, like, going into it, Joe, Ashley, what did you think your chances were? Did you think you had a good shot at winning, or
no?
I honestly, I don't know. I was just so happy as the 2 of us. Whatever happened was going to be fine with me.
Yeah, I realized the amazing game she played, so I was like, this isn't an easy win for me. And I was like, I think it could go either way, which obviously it did 4-3. But I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna lose, it's okay. Like, Ashley's a great person. She played an amazing game. So once we were just waiting for the jury to pop in, I was like, this really could go either way. And I'm honestly happy whichever way it goes.
And the same. And after listening to everything back, I thought about how our games were completely different and separate, but we had, like, a final 2 the whole time. Like, we didn't work together nearly ever. We had different alliances. We had different this, that, and the next. And we weren't
like half the game.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, let's just do a nice, competitive, friendly Q&A. That's. I was like, let's just go and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw the commentary during the final two, but Dash
Not yet.
Cats, he has coined you now. You have a title now. So you don't know you have a title, Ashley. You have a title. You are the Queen of Nodding because you nodded during everything Joe said. And it was very nice. We commended you. We said normalize nodding in final two. We want that. We like active listening. But we were concerned that you were agreeing too much with Joe, whereas Joe, very steadfast when you were answering your questions. No nodding, no reaction, just looking straight at the screen. And we were concerned because you were so agreeable to what he was saying that it may have cost you some votes.
That's fair. In college, my professors loved me because I was the most active listener in the class, and I always got eye contact. So that's just a thing. But I mean, I do see that. I was talking to a friend afterwards, and this is what they were saying, and I go, I get it, I do. But he had really good points. I mean, I don't know. I'm just a super, super people I love and care about. I want to see them do well as well. So I was like, yes, I will fight against you, but I also appreciate your game.
Oh, yeah, and I felt in a lot of it was very similar to Friday when we had AJ and Michaela, because I felt like Michaela very social and then AJ was very strategic, and it was kind of the two different sides of the game going against each other. And I felt like this was similar as well, because Joe, you played very strategically, and Ashley, you had an incredible social game. I felt like in the beginning, Ashley, you kind of sold yourself short in terms of how you played the game, and it got better as it went along. But I feel like that there's such a negative connotation to saying anything about being under the radar, and you were almost embracing it. And I was like, that may sit not well with people.
Yeah, that's something that I realized from both of my games that I've played is I undersell my game far too much. I do not appreciate my game enough. So that's something that working on self-progressing every day. But I don't know, that was something as I was why am I saying that? Why? Halfway through, that's when I was let's own my game. Let's just say it. I never had my name as a target. That's why I started throwing. I'm I probably got less than 4 votes the whole game. It tried to throw that way. Once I realized what I was doing to myself, a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts.
And then Joe, on the other hand, I thought you did an incredible job of building up your game. And also, because I felt like you had, a hill to climb in terms of you had safety for so long and didn't really have to battle so much, but you were able to kind of overcome that and show the jury as to what you actually did in the game.
And on top of that, I wasn't safe the first 2 rounds. My name was thrown out the first 2 rounds, and I was still able to kind of get through that. And like I mentioned yesterday, when I was safe, I was building all these relationships. But I just feel like I've always been targeted super, super early. Maybe my video did have something to do with it, but I've still been able to escape from all the targeting. So
you want to hear my crazy theory? I have a crazy theory as to why you're targeted so early.
Okay.
It's the chair.
The gamer chair? Yeah.
The gamer chair. That is my thought.
The first time I played, I was like, you know what? They're gonna figure out that I'm a gamer. I have my mic here. I'm a Twitch streamer as well, and I don't want people to know that.
Go follow him.
So I was like, oh shoot, this might actually get me targeted. So after my 8-1 mini, Alex, who played an R mini, they targeted him super quick because of his chair, because of all the Nintendo things, and I felt like, oh damn, I felt so bad. So coming into this one, I was like, I'm prepared to be targeted because of people maybe affiliating me with being a gamer or anything like that. So it's completely valid.
Winners at war? ? Uncomfy chair? Just switch the chair out? Go bend?
Own it. I think I'm gonna own it this time. I'll put some Pikachus on here. I'll put my Game Boy ready. I'm excited.
It's your thing now. It's your thing.
It is my thing, and I'm owning it.
Ashley is Queen of Nodding. You are.
I changed my Twitter handle.
Did you really?
No, you did not.
No, I was gonna pull up Day's comment, but you saw it and already changed it.
I went there. I got it.
I guess real quick, let's go to Greg and Ryan just in terms of your votes. Greg, what were you thinking when you were deciding on your vote there?
So like I'd said, I would have been happy with either person winning. I personally went into it pretty mind made up, and it didn't really change. So I just really loved the game that Ashley played in particular, just because that's the game that I wanted to play as well. So, but again, like I said, Joe played an incredible game. So as it was going on through the jury, I had no idea which way it was going to go. And I was going to be happy with either, but I did vote for Ashley.
What about you, Ryan?
So I was like very emotional after Greg like pulled me. So half of like the jury speeches, I was like, breathe, breathe, breathe. And so I was just trying to like really focus on like what they were trying to say. And I kind of came up with my question about to Ashley about, you know, you took the biggest target in the, like he was targeted round 1, like to get your name thrown out there round 1 and then make it to the final 2, like that's pretty huge. So like why would you take that? Like, did you really think you have to go to odds? And she's like, yeah, I would go toe to toe with Joe in a Q&A at any time. I was like, I'm voting for Ashley then, because she just, the confidence that she showed to say, you know what, I may not have, like, I may not get all the votes, but I'm going to fight, and I played a good game, and I'm not going to just sit here and just say, yeah, give all your votes to Joe. Like, I know I played a good game and I deserve this as well. So to hear that confidence, and like, nothing to say that Joe's game wasn't good, because like hearing it, I feel like my mind was made up for Joe. And then when I asked my question, it kind of shifted. I was like, you know what? I haven't voted correctly this entire game. What's one more round, right? So I had to vote for Ashley.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was very interesting to see you two play your games after 8-1, right? 8-1?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And just kind of how, you know, I feel like, Joe, you had a very similar storyline in terms of targeted very early on and still managing to scrape and claw and LOS your way.
It's
to
similar
the
to
end.
your game. This one, very similar.
Super similar.
And Ashley, I feel like for you, it was similar-ish, but it was such a stronger game, even though you had similar placements, you improved by 1, but you were much more aggressive. And like, I feel like this game was a complete game. Like, you learn, and that's what I always say, your second game, you learn so much more and you can kind of be the player you want to be. And I feel like this time we saw that from you.
Yeah, and that's something that in between the beginning of August and the end of August, I've watched my game a few times. I've talked to all of my friends in our 8-1 chat, Zoom calls. What could I have done better? What do I need to do better my next time? What were my flaws? Like I game studied basically my own game and had all my friends, you know, help me. So that was a big thing. I like to self-improve. That was like a big thing I do, is try to just improve every day. Same.
I felt like I was really quiet the first time I played, like Final 6, Final 5. I didn't say anything, and I feel like if I was more vocal, I would have been able to save myself. And on top of that, I just try to make as many Final 2s and 3s this time. Last time I only had a Final 2 with Sindri, Eddie, and like Julia. They all went pretty much early except for Sindri. So I made more alliances, and I was definitely able to be more vocal and just not be afraid to like put names out there. So yeah, I think we both grew.
Final 2s and deals was something I literally didn't do in 8-1, and I learned from a friend that just make deals and break them. It's fine. I won't say which friend. We won't out that.
I was very happy. I'm a big fan of 8-1. A lot of people I'm close to in 8-1. I feel like it's a very underrated mini. So it was good to see how you all did and kind of the resurgence of 8-1. I hope there is a future resurgence of more people from 8-1. So we'll see how it goes in the coming weeks. I think so. Yeah, let's go around and kind of get final thoughts from everybody. We could start with you, Greg.
Yeah, so I was just like, because I played, this is my 4th game, and every time beforehand I'd gone early. So I was just super happy just to make it to jury, basically. And I think I was just, every step I made it past that, I was just so happy to make it further. And I just, yeah, I completely fucked up the final 5 and 4, but at least I feel like I've learned so much from this last one. And I also felt like, I felt kind of free in this game because I felt like I was meant to have gone in round 3. So then having survived that, I kind of just felt, well, now I've just got kind of playing with house money and I could just see how it goes, basically. But I had so much fun playing this game.
Also, props to you for putting Weakest Link in your video. We love we love Weakest Link.
May as well embrace how bad it was in that.
You got Tekka back. You didn't lose. Technically, you got Tekka back. Ryan, what about you?
So when I going from Sequester to this game, I doubt myself when I play these games. I really am like, am I really that good? Like, did I really deserve that win? And then I kind of went into this game and I was very nervous. I talked to Johnny to like get a lot of like feedback and like a lot of tips. But then I went in and very similar to what Greg said, like I kind of just felt free. And I do think that like having the safety really helped. But I had to kind of just relinquish the like that self-doubt of like, am I really worthy? And just be like, just fight for your game. Just do what you know how to do. and to show people who you are and really like showcase what's inside of you. And I feel like I built those bonds and I built those relationships, which got me to the Final Four. And it kind of solidified in me that like, you are good at these games. Like, stop self-doubting yourself. Like, stop self-doubting yourself. What the hell am I saying? Stop doubting yourself and really give yourself a chance. And I feel like I did that. And I made it to Final 3, and I'll take it. First and third, I'll take it.
Those are not bad stats at all.
It's not at all.
I'm always kind of jealous of people with really good stats. I feel like a few of you just have like really ridiculous stats that like, you know, the average placement is very high.
So these guys played together and then came. What? So you two dragged each other, and then now 1 and 2. So maybe Ryan, one day we can be the next 1 and 2.
Okay, Greg, I'm saying it now. Me and you, next time we play Final 2. Great.
I would not be dragging you.
Isn't there the Dragger and Draggy mini? Get in on that. Isn't that happening soon?
I think it's still on. Yeah.
Is it?
Get in.
So I know there's signups.
Greg and I are gonna have to like work together on something. Finally, work together and not kill each other.
Ashley, what about you?
Well, this mini, I came in having no expectation. I placed third my last one, so I said, let's go in. I can only go up 1 or 2. So I was like, let's just go play, have fun, and be a little more aggressive. And I did. I upped myself 1, and I was so shocked that I did that. Like, the fact that I had such a smooth and easy ride to the finals, it felt like for me, because I'd never had that strong worry, was crazy to me. I was so happy, and it really did show that I can play a game, and a good game, and be very consistent. So 2 and 3, I'll take it.
And what about you, Joe?
I honestly came into this having no expectations. I was like, I'm probably gonna be the first one out, and then I'm just shocked and appreciative, grateful that I ended up winning. One of the main things I wanted to do was to up my social game, because I did rewatch 8-1. I honestly don't think I had a really good social game back then. And I'm really proud that I was able to build relationships and bonds with people to get me where I got. And I'm just really happy that I got to meet more amazing people, and I'm looking forward to be friends with a new addition to our family of Sequester.
There you go. And now you can represent your mini at Winners at War.
Super excited for Winners. Super excited. I'm ready. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming on. This was a ton of fun and a really good mini, and a good way to kind of cap out what was a very nice weekend of Fresh Meat Minis. I feel like we got 2 really good ones. Thank you as always to our mods in the chat for keeping everyone in line. Thank you to Will from America for the theme song. We will be going live again later tonight. I think it's at 8 tonight. I think 8 Eastern for the Battle of the Bottoms. Joe, the show's least favorite minis facing off. Eva will be running commentary on that. Your very own Chris will be on commentary. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, we got another action-packed week of private minis, so be excited for that. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us. And until a few hours from now, we will see you out there. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.